Hey everyone, this is Danielle, also known as Gently Smiling Jaws, and welcome to my Flosstube. And today's Flosstube is all about cross stitch. I have not done any crochet since the last time I filmed. Actually, because the last time I saw my mom, she wasn't feeling like doing any cross stitch. Still working on seeing if I can get her into doing that more, but has to be her decision, so we'll see. So just cross stitch is time for me, and I've got tea today. This is one of the ones from the Hawaiian Islands tea company, and it is, I guess it doesn't say on the tag, but hopefully I put it in my notes. It is their mango Maui tea. I was just feeling today was just I was at tea bag level of making tea, not wanting to go into the loose leaf, at least as far as prepping for this video. Maybe I'll have some loose leaf later, but for now, bag tea is fine. Let's see here. I feel like in these last 2 weeks, I got a lot of stitching in. I don't know if I will be this productive between now and my next Flosstube, but we will see. I was really wanting to get some stitching in, and I worked on new pieces, pulled out old pieces, which I'm glad I did. So yeah, we'll see. I can't promise I'll be this productive all the time, but I feel like I do have quite a bit to show for this week. So let's see here, get a sip of this tea, and then we'll start in. Okay, first on the list is that dark golden delicious pattern from the Artsy Housewife. It's not necessarily going to look that much more amazing from when I last showed it, because I put in, how many stitches did I put in? 327, but I'm still up here working on this design on the top, so not a whole lot more interesting to show, just still working on that border area there. So I worked on it some because I wanted to continue with my progress, but then I had so many other things to work on that I have not gotten back to this. But this is the one where I mentioned in my last video. I am using a silk pack from Vicky Clayton's Silks, and I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but I'm liking what I am seeing so far. So more still to come. And this is actually the first Artsy Housewife pattern that I have stitched. I have a number of patterns in my stash, but this is the first one I have actually started in on. Certainly have plans for more, but I am planning on starting some more things. I am sort of getting to the point now where I want to be careful about how much more I start, because I would like to see some progress and finishes, particularly on some older pieces. So we'll get to that as I go along. But here we go. Number one. And I think what I'm going to do, as I've done in the last few videos, is instead of separating out into finishes, starts, and whips, and maybe I will do that in future videos, but for right now, what I want to do is just go chronologically. I go through, my notes, because I keep track of my stitching, and then I write down my notes for when I record, and going in chronological order, for now at least, is what's making sense to me, so that's what I'm going with. So, all right. Oh, I think I already said, but 327 stitches in on this. Set that over there. And second is I pulled out an older whip. This is Modern Folk Embroidery, Spirits of the Dead. And I've stitched the part up top already. I am on doing the words down here, and then there's a band with some words at the bottom that has a lot of fill in to do, as well as then a final like thin border, I think, around everything. So I've still got a ways to go, but I got in 451 stitches, so I got made some progress. Glad that I did. Was happy to get this back out again and start working on it. This is one I would like to, kind of make a push to get finished. And some of these older pieces that I'm pulling back out of mine, they're ones that are on a lower count fabric than I've been working on more recently. I think this is a 32 count of, I'd have to double check to be sure, but lower counts where I'm working with like 2 strands over 2 on instead of, most of my stuff has been on more recently on a 40 count where it's 1 over 2. But it was nice to kind of pull these out. I think overall I still, want to stitch on the higher count stuff going forward, or since I do have a number of like 32 count fabrics on hand, that when I stitch things on those, I may look at trying to stitch over 1 on those and see how I'm feeling about it, since my tastes have changed a little as far as fabric count. But yeah, it was kind of nice to make that change a bit and go back to some of the stuff. And I feel like, obviously I have quite a bit more to do, but I feel like I had made a nice bit of progress on this. And because it's, letters, and so you have quite a bit of open space around, you kind of feel like you're covering more areas than when you have a densely packed bit of stitching where you're like, oh, I did that many stitches and it's only covering that much space. But yeah, so here is where I am at on this one. Let me see. I was curious, I didn't note down percentage wise where I was at on these, but let me take a look, because I do have my other notes where I could see how far along I am on that. Let's take a look. I am at 60.66%, so still have quite a ways to go, but I have made progress. All right. Next one will probably need a bit of explaining. This is a new start, and although I haven't done any further work on my temperature design, I feel like when I get an idea to design something, it's like I have to do it all right then, and I have a harder time sitting down like, yes, I'm going to plan out doing this and allocate time. No, I like to just have an idea and do it. And right now this is still sort of the boring portion of things because it's just text. But if a number of weeks back you happen to be following the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, you will know that further along in there was a beat that was dropped where people were, asked to create their own, freestyle over this beat, and the beat had some lyrics to it as well, and it was called BBL Drizzy. And so I decided, I'm in the process of stitching a portion of the lyrics, and then I'm going to put some little symbols on the side of things once I get that far. So this was just sort of a fun little thing just to sort of commemorate this moment in time. But I will say that I watched a lot of reaction videos on YouTube to kind of understand more of this, because although I have listened to some of their music, Drake's more than Kendrick's, I don't follow either of them closely, and not knowing the background, I wanted to hear from people who did know. So I was watching them, getting, the opinions of various folks. And although it was on one hand, it was enjoyable to see the back and forth. There was a lot of dark things being said, songs, and as others have pointed out, that not long after this sort of, you know, kind of wrapped up or came to a conclusion for now, you had Childish Gambino with his video for his song Littlefoot, Bigfoot. And if you watch the video, you notice that, you know, you have people singing to an audience that are just sitting there stone-faced, not reacting at all until somebody dies. And so that also sort of a commentary that made me sort of rethink my paying as close of attention as I did to the back and forth there of how pointing out that, you know, sometimes people don't get excited about entertainment unless, you know, somebody's getting hurt. So that was something to think about. But I have started this. I'm going to, you know, finish this, and this will be to capture a moment in time. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to do anything as far as framing it or displaying it, but it is just a capturing a memory of an event that took place. That yeah. So that's that. And oh, I suppose this fabric, do I still have I don't know if I still have the sticker on here. This is a small little 8 by 12 inch piece of a 40 count pewter Newcastle linen from Picture This Plus. So just what you see here, this whole thing, this is the entire piece of fabric. And I can mention a while back I had some time ago I had placed an order from 123 Stitch in which I wanted to try out, you know, various fabrics. And so buying small little pieces of fabric like this that are certainly much less expensive than buying a big piece, I thought that was a good way to get an idea of you know, colors and sort of how the fabric is. And so as I've had some smaller things that I want to work on, I've been digging through my stash trying to find you know, what I want to use for various things. So like a few videos ago, the small little bird pattern that was a start and finish in that one video, that was on a, you know, a small little piece from Fox and Rabbit. And I thought that was what I liked about that was I thought the fabric was great for that particular project. I liked how it worked out, but also I'm glad I bought a small piece because the fabric color isn't necessarily something that's going to be my taste for something bigger. I mean, maybe for the right project, but I'm glad I bought a small piece instead of a big one of that. So yeah, that's, and the floss is, it's a thread gatherer, Silken Colors. I think it's called Egyptian Nights. It was one where I just had one skein of it around, and I thought, well, if I'm stitching text, I would like it to be, and since text is going to be the majority of this, I thought having something colorful and variegated would give it a little more visual interest. So there's that. And that is, I've put in 576 stitches on that so far. Let me take a look here because I will say the percentage that I have done on it is around, that's around a quarter of the way done. But that's approximate because although I'm still planning to do the text exactly how I had first laid it out, the kind of little symbols I'm going to have on the side, I'm now thinking I want to tweak some of them a bit, so my stitch count that I'm working off of is probably not going to be accurate when it comes to the final. So after that, the other thing I had put work into was my Carolyn Manning design, Chameleon, for Manning May. And for this here, I decided, as I was putting in more stitches, I was like, let's get it to the point where the design makes a nice square. Let me bring this up here. Yeah, so obviously I've got quite a ways to go on this, but I thought I can stitch along and get to a point where it looks like a square. And so that's what I did. I put in 639 stitches, and I am about 14.3% complete. So quite a ways to go, but as we're getting further along, getting the design out more from the center there, starting to bring more colors in. I think as I get further out, there's some more shades of green that will start to show up, but I'm just not quite there yet. And as I mentioned before, the nice thing about these little blocks of color is that, you know, I mean, you do have to pay attention to the pattern to make sure you're putting you know, things in the right place, but because it's blocks of color, you can look over, figure out, okay, yes, this is the part that I'm working on next, and this is, you know, the section that I'm doing, and then you can just spend some time stitching, and then once you finish up that section, go back to the pattern. Okay, I'm on to this next piece. Where is that going? And then just focus on stitching. And so it's relaxing to do, and you can do it while, you know, things, watching or listening to things that require a little more focus, and then I just lost my train of thought there. But you can work on this, and it takes less brain power as far as the stitching goes, and you have more brain power to pay attention to the other things you're doing while stitching. So yes, got that one there. And next is No Time Like the Present. Again, I am behind, but I continue to make progress for every video. This video, I did 299 stitches between the last video and now, and so that was right over here, just that section there. Let's bring this up, get it to focus in. So how I was mentioning with when you're stitching text, you can feel like you're making quite a bit of progress and see that you've increased the area of the design. There you've got 299 stitches, and they're all just condensed in that little spot. But still, it's progress, and I think this is working for me. And the progress is not fast, but it is consistent. As long as I keep finding time to stitch on this between every video, I will continue to make progress. I will not finish on time, but I will continue to make progress, and that's sort of the point. So there we are with this one. Next is, I pulled back out the one of the Biscornu patterns from Modern Folk Embroideries, 8 Biscornu, and I put in 169 stitches, so not a ton. I believe it was mostly, it was fill in on kind of this heart area here, just the portions inside there, and then this part that goes up and to the corner. So there we go. And on this one, where am I at percentage wise? 62.44%. So ways to go, but what I'm looking forward to is once I get done with kind of this here, I think that a good portion of the stitches that I have remaining are in like a single stitch of border that goes all the way around, which I could potentially, you know, decide not to do, but I think right now I'm planning to do it. But yeah, this is one of the ones where I am kind of, you know, the end is sort of in sight, and I'm looking forward to, you know, getting this one complete and having to finish and getting one whip marked off my list. So glad to get a little more progress in on this one. I think this was, with everything else I was doing, sort of like, you know, No Time Like the Present, I wasn't necessarily feeling super motivated to work on either one of them, in this last, 2 weeks, but I wanted to pick them up and put in some stitches so that I would have progress between the previous video and this one. Okay. Next is another new start. So earlier in the year, I had bought some patterns from Shaded Stitchery, and I had always planned to do the data portraits in Paris first. That was what I was thinking I was going to do. But the other pattern that I also gotten was the Freedom Motif Sampler. And as I was looking, and I knew I wanted to start one of them, and I kept looking at the Freedom Motif Sampler. I was looking at the colors, in particular that blue water up at the top, and I already had all the flosses that I needed for both of those patterns on hand because I had wanted to do them. I had stuff ready and waiting. I just hadn't started. And ultimately I decided, okay, I'm going to start one of them, but it's going to be the Freedom Motif Sampler. So that's what I did. I started in, we got that motif from the middle because I did a center start on this one. I got that in, and that was 644 stitches. And look at that already, just have that done. We've already got lots of colors going on that are looking great. And I'm also really happy with how this is looking on this fabric. This, and I forget the exact size of the piece, but this is a let me double check, make sure. Yes, it's a 40 count Duxbury linen from Fox and Rabbit. Basically I had like a little piece of Duxbury that it had more of the speckling on it in the previous video with the small little ornament that I did during the Jingle Ball class last year. That was I'm blanking on which designer's class that was. It was a specialty stitches class, but that piece of Duxbury had a lot of speckling, and I really liked how the fabric looked. And so, like, okay, I'm gonna buy a bigger piece of Duxbury, and I don't remember what the count on that little piece was, but this was 40 count. When I got this piece, and I know there's always variation between fabrics because it's hand dyed and no two pieces are gonna ever look the same. This doesn't have any of that speckling on it. It's a beautiful fabric. You look at there and you can see a little bit of modeling, and I like the color there. I like the fabric, but because I was expecting something more like that little piece that I'd gotten when I first, had opened up my shipment whenever I got this sometime last year, I think. I don't remember exactly. But I have to say I was a little disappointed when I looked at it because I thought, oh, I was hoping for that speckling. It's not on there, and But of course, it's in the stash. You're gonna find a use for it. So as I was looking through, trying to decide what fabric I was gonna use for this sampler, I was looking at a few different things, and ultimately I went back to this one. And as I started stitching on it, I'm super happy with how this is looking so far, and I am definitely looking forward to, especially once I get some of those blues in there and some of the other nice vibrant colors. So looking forward to that, and forward to see how this comes along. So that there was another start. Next, this was pulling out another older piece. Older whip. This is Birds to the Boughs by Lindy Stitches. Again, before, another piece where this is on lower count fabric than I typically reach for these days, and I'm stitching 2/1, and I got in 464 stitches on this, and I think what I'm most happy about with this is that when I had pulled this out, I had just been doing border. Which I like the border. I'm happy it's there. I'm excited to see this, you know, when it's all complete. But just doing the border, I wasn't really drawn to be, you know, stitching on it right then. I wanted to get some of the more exciting parts. And so once I got over close to where the crown for this bird was, I went ahead and stitched the crown, started in stitching on the bird, and now that I have done that portion of things, I'm more excited about picking this up again. And I've mentioned it in past videos, but I am doing this piece sort of in honor of my parents, but I'm not intending to give this to my mom necessarily, because I like the piece a lot, and I'm sort of intending to keep it for myself. But we'll see. Maybe I will change my mind, you know, down the road. But we'll see. I don't know. I just don't. On one hand, I don't know how excited my mom is about cross stitch, and if I'm putting in all this work on a piece where I really enjoy it, but it may not be her favorite thing, well, then why give it to her if I can put it up on my wall and enjoy it? So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so I was happy to pull this out and see some more progress on it, because seeing the progress started to get me, you know, excited to work on this again. Okay, next is, since it's Marroomy May, I went back to working on Mellow the Phoenix on this beautiful fabric from Banana Oil. And the floss is Cottage Garden Threads gilt. And as you can see, continuing to work along there. And just the more I stitch on this, the more I'm just really happy with how this is looking. I love the color of the floss on this fabric. I love this fabric. I think the fabric is perfect to go with, you know, the pattern. And once this is done and I see kind of how it all fits on the piece, and it is, I'll have to decide, well, so this is something that I probably will, you know, want to frame, and then it's figuring out, you know, what size of frame I will do relative to the finished piece itself, because this fabric is just gorgeous. So seeing as much of it as possible is, you know, would be nice as well. So yeah, let me get that there. Yeah, very happy about this. And obviously I have other of Miriam's designs that I want to you know, get back to stitching as well, but honestly right now I am enjoying this one so much that I think I'm kind of, as far as her designs, focusing on this one at the moment, just because I want to see more progress, and I want to see this one you know, get wrapped up. And it's also, you know, a considerably smaller piece than the other two that I have started, so I think it's an appropriate reason to focus on this as well. Okay. And then the last of the things that I have worked on, this is Ink Circles, Reflections on a Grecian Urn. I can't remember the last time I worked on this, but what I did, and I just worked on this last night, was 232 stitches, and it's just the black 310 up in that corner there. So this is a lot of 310, and then the octopus, the scorpion, and there's some of the stuff in the middle I'm also going to do in Thread Gatherer Silken Colors. I think this is Autumn Twilight for those. I'm not sure whether I'm also going to use Autumn Twilight for the part I want to do different in the towards the middle, or if I'm going to pick another one. We'll see. And I think I had probably last showed this in my whip parade at the beginning of the year. The story behind this is, since this is got, it has, well, it's sort of a combination of, ancient things, because you've got the little warrior guys there, and in others you see like the octopus on various things. And particularly when I see an octopus, I think of Minoan art. And towards the middle of the pattern, there's wolves, like the whole statue with Romulus and Remus and all that, which is more Roman, but it's sort of a classical antiquity kind of pattern. And I started this because the sort of impetus behind this, and I had mentioned this in my previous video, was that I had a high school teacher who was one of my favorite teachers that I ever had. Because you always have, you have the teachers that you don't enjoy, and you have the teachers which they're okay, but then you have the teachers which really, they inspire you to learn and you really enjoy their classes and all that. So I had a teacher in high school who was like that. She enjoyed kind of more Greek and Roman history quite a lot. She enjoyed a lot of history. She and her husband traveled to a lot of places, and like we got like sort of the vacation slideshows during our lectures, because she would show pictures related to things that she was teaching us about, and so that was very enjoyable. And so through her, I learned to, I wouldn't say I'm super into history, but she got me into more of the, interested in kind of ancient Greek and Roman history. I think I'm more of a fan of Greek than Roman, but it's all fun. And when I was in college, I ended up majoring in classics. So she had sort of inspired my love of this. And then after I graduated high school, I did not keep in touch with her or anything, but I did know that her and her husband had always planned to move to Greece after they retired, and I know that she did do that, and I'm glad they got to enjoy that. But last year, it was, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, I learned that they had passed away, and so that made me sort of sad and nostalgic. And so I'm like, I want to go and stitch something sort of in both her memory, more of the memory of how she inspired my love of learning. And so I thought that this was an appropriate pattern, and so I picked this. Let's see, I don't have the information in front of me on which fabric this is. I might have it here somewhere that I can reference. Let me take a quick look here. Okay, I actually did find information. I started this on June 12th of 2023. I have my 2023 little stitching notebook here. So it is on Bestitch Me Muddy Puddles 28 count linen. So this is actually an even lower count than I thought it was. And so I'm stitching this 2/2. The colors are DMC 310, Silken Colors Autumn Twilight, also Silken Colors Pumpkins and Black Cats, but I think I had planned to use that for part of it, but I don't know that I have actually used it in this yet. I think everything that's in both the octopus and the scorpion is Autumn Twilight. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, this is, my original intention, and I don't know that I'm going to do it just because I don't know that I can bring myself to stitch the same pattern again. Particularly, I'm trying to think how many stitches are in this total. Let me see here. a little under, just about 7,000 stitches. I don't know that I want to stitch this whole thing again. But my original plan was to stitch one this way, which was sort of with the colors a little bit more looking like, you know, ancient pottery, and then maybe stitching another version that was in purples, just because this teacher particularly liked the color purple. But I don't know that I'm going to do that. I may pick something else and do that, you know, in purples. But again, happy. Then when I pulled this out again and started stitching on it, you know, seeing it again made me excited to see what this is going to look like complete. So there is that. Now I gotta reopen to my notes again here. Oh, and then, so the total number of stitches that I did over the last 2 weeks was 4,117 stitches. As I flipped back through the stitching that I have done so far this year, I don't think this was my most productive 2-week period. I think that was at the very beginning of the year. I think that was when I was really excited to start in on the modern folk embroidery piece, and I really wanted to keep up, and so I dove in at a pace which I could not sustain, and I think I had even more I'd have even more stitches at the beginning of the year. But I was looking back, and again, that's not in this notebook, it's in the other one, but there's that 4,000 some stitches in a 2-week period, and I was looking back, so I was going through and calculating things in the last few months this year, and I think I did, the stitching that I did in the last 2 weeks was just about the amount of stitching that I did in all of March. So there you go. So in January, let me look at my notes here. So January, 7,276 stitches. February, 4,933 stitches. March, 4,185 stitches. April, things picked back up again, 7,376 stitches. And we're currently in May, which isn't over yet, so I don't have a count for May so far. But see how the stitching kind of ebbs and flows. Okay, let me get to my notes here. Plans. I'm probably going to start a few more things this month. Again, because I'm letting myself start things this month, and then I need to get to work on finishing more things. And I have to figure out exactly what I'm going to start on my birthday, whether it is going to be the other, Carolyn Manning birthday cake, or whether I want to do something else. We'll see. I also need to start the next airmail patterns, and what I'm thinking, I'm waiting on the flosses for the June airmail that came out, and I think what I may do is once I get out the fabric that I'm using, since I have to start my new page, and cut my piece of fabric, because I need to start May, and then June just came out, and I have the July pattern already. August is not out yet, but when I start that, start in on that page, what I may start out with to be and with this, instead of just doing May and then June and then July, is start off by doing the stamp outlines for all three of the ones that I've got so far, and then going from there so that I can get my page kind of laid out there with all the things. So again, the stamps are a longer term project, and it's going to take take quite a while to be done. It's not going to be not going to be done until next year, even if I'm keeping up with everything, because not all the patterns are out yet, and some aren't going to come out till next year. What else? Oh, as I've been have this in my hand around, one thing that I did pick up recently was I did find a copy of the Ship of Life pattern. Let me try and do this without glare on it. This is an out of print pattern from the Needle Love Company. Designer is Renee Nanaman. I may not be pronouncing that right. This is a pattern that I had first seen when I was watching a Flosstube from Cozy Egg. I think it was last year sometime. I was watching through watching Flosstubes, and she was showing her finish of this pattern, and I like the look of it. I think part of it is I both like the design itself, and that it's sort of a long skinny pattern, and that I also kind of like the fact that there's a lot of open space here, because you've got, there's text here at the lighthouse and the water and the ship up there, the little compass, but then there's sort of a lot of empty space. So there's stitching. I don't know that it says in here a stitch count. Let me see. I had looked the other day, and I don't think it does, but yeah, I like the look of the pattern, and it was out of print, and so I've been kind of half keeping an eye on. I've not been seriously, trying to hunt it down, but I've been looking, and I had seen, I think one or two had popped up on eBay, and then by the time that I realized or had gotten my notification and gone to take a look, it was already gone. But I did track down one somewhere, and it was I wouldn't even say it was all that expensive, because there have been other patterns that, are currently available patterns that I have paid, maybe around the same amount of money for. So, and I didn't have to spend, all that much, which makes me happy. And I don't know that I am ready to start this quite yet. I'm still trying. There's multiple things I need to figure out. Obviously, there's, fabric choice of what I would like to do, whether I have something in stash that will work or not. And then also, as I looked at this, I thought about tweaking the pattern slightly. So my thoughts as I've been trying to decide on this. First, I was looking at this and thinking, okay, what do I want to do? I'm not entirely sure I want to stitch all the text. I have to decide. What it says on there is, the text says, "The great ship of life, gliding over the sea of time," and there's supposed to put initials and the year, and it says, "Bound to the shore of eternity, her anchor cast on the rock of ages." I'm not sure whether I want to do all the text, part of the text, or any of the text. I'm still a little up in the air on that. Also, the ship. I was looking at the flag. There's an American flag on it, and I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to stitch that, because I'm not super into, patriotic stitching. Not that this is patriotic themed, but never say never. I may in the future, but it's not something that I am drawn to right now. So first I was thinking, well, do I want to change the flag? What would I put in place of the flag? Should I just leave the flag off entirely? Then I was looking at the boat and thinking, well, I live in Washington State, and it's been a while since I've looked, but I do believe that we have a state ship, like, you have your state flag, your state flower, your state motto, all that. We have a state ship, I believe, which is the tall ship, the Lady Washington, which has been in a number of movies. That I have not visited the ship myself, but I know it's around here. It sails in other places. You can sign up to take, you know, little trips on the ship or become part of the crew or things like that. That's not necessarily anything I would be interested in myself, but it's a ship that I think is a nice looking ship, and I thought, well, maybe there would be a way to tweak the pattern slightly to make it look a little more like the Lady Washington. And the Lady Washington, I went on, you know, the website, saw that, you know, they do fly an American flag on it. So if I tweak it to look like the Lady Washington, then I probably would leave the flag like it is. But if I do make that change, the other thing that I am considering is down in the water here. I'll see if I can bring it up here. Oh, there's glare there. There's a whale down here. However, I'm thinking of changing that whale to an orca, because if I'm wanting to tweak it to be more like things around here, there are certainly, I'm going to see an orca more than I am going to see a whale like that here in the Puget Sound area. So that may be a small tweak that I make as well. The lighthouse, you know, to be honest, I don't know much about lighthouses and how lighthouses are around here. I mean, looking at this, I am sort of guessing that maybe this is more of a, I mean, with the whale and that lighthouse, maybe it's a little more kind of, you know, East Coast like, but I don't know for sure. But I think I would just leave the lighthouse as it is. It's more tweaking the whale and maybe making some small tweaks to the ship. The other thing is that, so this cover photo shows two different, sorry about the glare here, shows two different colors of fabric, and I think there are floss colors given that are slightly different depending on what sort of fabric you're working on. So I don't know. Many choices. This is not something that I am looking to start right away because there are too many decisions that I need to make. So I have obtained the pattern, which was my goal, and now I get to think about it in my head for a while as far as what exactly I want, and when the time is right and I have made my decisions, we'll go from there. And I think, no, there's some more. I need to give updates on my eSIMs. So my last eSIM that I had gotten, I knew kind of from the rate the data was being used that it would probably expire before it went through all the data, and that was correct. So that one expired. I didn't top it up because it wasn't going to use all the data. So I got a new separate eSIM, which, you know, there's always a lag before, you know, somebody gets it and is able to activate it. And again, like I usually do, I'll have links to so what is it, Connecting Humanity, and that has, you know, info on the whole thing to donate eSIMs from various companies to get them out to people in Gaza. So that will be in the description below. But the latest eSIM that I got has been activated, and just a little bit of data has been used so far. So it has me a little concerned that there hasn't been much data movement yet, but I'm keeping an eye on it. If, you know, I want to be ready to top that one up if that is needed. If that one, you know, if there's not movement and it's going to expire, then I will just eventually, you know, get a new one to donate. The other thing is that this necklace here, which is a little olive branch, this was a recent purchase I made from Arcana Obscura. I'll put a link below, and they have two different olive branch necklace patterns, and I believe that those, I don't think there's an ending date for this. I think those designs are just, at least for now, permanently where 50% of the sale price goes to. They're giving it to an organization called Many Lands Mutual Aid. I think they have more information over on their site. But yeah, that was something where I had been planning a purchase from them for a while, and as I was, then deciding that I was ready to make this purchase, I saw that they had this going on as well, and I wanted to do that for their fundraiser. I think now I am at end here, which is good because I am noticing that my battery is now nearing its end of life. So I need to wrap this up. So that's what I've done in the last 2 weeks, and we'll see this is the last video that I am making before my schedule well, yes, because when my schedule changes, that's when I probably will switch I will probably record on a Friday that week instead of a Wednesday, which means I may get a little extra time to do some stitching between now and my next video. I am also, with the Memorial Day holiday coming up, and I'm taking a little more time off, we'll see. I don't know that I will have this as much stitching as I did this time for the next video, but I potentially could. We'll see. I said, as things shift with my work schedule, it will be easier for me to have time to film and edit these videos, and this is it's a shift just for the summer, but it's nice to have that extra time. So we will see how that goes. So if you made it to the end, thank you very much for watching until the end. If you were working on a project while you were watching this, please leave a comment and let me know what you were working on. Not that I need to start anything else, but I always like to hear what people are stitching on. And just if you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and watching again. And I will be back in 2 weeks for my next Flosstube. So I will see you then. Thanks so much. Bye.